All right. Hello and welcome, Just a Family. This is giving you something to talk about, or Just a Live TV, as I like to call it. I'm your host, Melissa Krechler. I'm an identity coach, spiritual teacher, business mentor, and creator and founder of not only Just a Live TV, but the Women Supporting Women Can Network. Today, we're going to be talking about using creativity for your health and wellness. Sorry, I forgot to mute my phone before we started. Okay. So we're going to be talking about how you can use your unique creativity to boost your health and wellness. Our sponsor today, A Phoenix Identity, want to take control of your emotions so that you can start creating healthy habits using your own unique creativity. Learn how to control them here. Go and download the Embrace Your Positivity Guide, the introduction to the ROCKSTAR Method. So go and take a look at that, link in the description. If at any point you want to get involved in the conversation, please do so. Comment, send us a message, let us know what you think, or get involved in the conversation regardless of whether you are watching live or catching the replay. I'm going to hand it over to my guest speaker today to introduce themselves. Alka, would you like to do that?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Alka Chopra, and I'm a registered dietitian, a certified diabetes educator, and a really strong, I'm going to say, a wellness advocate. I used to use the term self-care before, but I find self-care is a very construed word, and it's a very glamorized word, which we hear like everywhere. Everyone's talking about it, and usually when it is self-care, people attach spas and destinations and stuff like that. So that's why I like to, a wellness advocate in a holistic manner, not just nutrition, but we are talking of like pretty much everything. And most important is the creativity piece, because creativity means different things to different people. And we'll talk more about that.
Absolutely. So you and I were talking about different ways that we can boost our health and wellness. And one of the ones that we talked about was specifically creativity. Now, in previous episodes, and I talk about this all the time, everybody is creative in a different way. So I talked about the fact that when I draw stick figures. I am not a good artist when it comes to pen and paper. Or pencil and paper. I'm not a good artist. I can color, but I can't. Flowers is my best one. Yeah. But my daughters can draw, and my husband can draw, but mine is words. I'm not a good singer. But I create. So I have myself 3 creative businesses, right? Mm-hmm. Where I do jewelry, I do heat therapy bags, and I have a new business that's coming out that has creative artwork, but it's digital. So apparently I'm good at digital art, but but everybody has a unique, my greatest creativity, or my greatest thing that I enjoy doing for my health and wellness is music. Music is I can't sing and I can't make music. Mm-hmm. But if I'm driving in my car, my daughters get annoyed with me because I pick them up, I've got the music cranked, and they want to talk to me about their day, and I'm like, no, not until we get home. Like this is my music time. We just
that's your time.
That's my time, right? If I could be driving with the music blaring, I'm singing at the top of my lungs, I sound like a dying whale or whatever. but it makes me happy. It makes me feel good. I was in my kitchen the other day and I was really stressed out because even the best of us who know how to, deal with our emotions and our stress, I was really stressed. There was a lot going on, not with just myself, but my family members. Mm-hmm. And I turned on the music while I was cooking dinner, and I closed my eyes for a second, and I let my body feel the rhythm, and it changed the way that I felt. And
it changes the environment. Mm-hmm. It changes the environment. It changes your mood big time. Mm-hmm. So for me personally, I can relate very much with what you're saying. Like when I'm in the car, I need to have the music on. When I'm working, the music is on. Or some kind of a show is on, like something is on in the background. I might not be looking at it, but it's there, it's something. And yes, so definitely. So creativity is like what you have been saying. It's something that makes you happy. Mm-hmm. Something, and when I'm saying that something, is something that is different from what you do for a living. You know, most people will think, oh, yeah, my work makes me happy. Well, you do work, you work because you've got to make a living. You have expenses, you need to make money. Yes, people have businesses and that makes money, and that's all good. Even I work full time. I also have a business, but for my own time, it has to be something that makes me, and it takes me away from my laptop. Specifically, I might have my phone and the music in the background or my tab running. That's all good, but that is what I define as creativity. And creativity can be in different forms, shapes, sizes, colors, different modalities. It could be dance for someone. It could be, it could be going for a run for someone. So reading, it could be, so
There's
anything
so many.
it is completely, and how you, that's one piece. And the other piece is, how do you make, for example, let's take reading. Reading might be very boring for somebody, right? But somebody else will make reading interesting. You're a reader? Yeah. So if let's reverse roles over here. So if I were to ask you, Melissa, how do you make reading interesting for you? What do you do?
So I'm going to pull it up right now because I do want to put a caveat in here for anybody before I get into how I make reading fun for me and how I make it creative. I think people need to know that when it comes to reading or anything that you do for creativity, you can lose yourself in it, and that's great.
Yeah.
But remember not to lose yourself in it. I do it all the time. So all this week, my new business is launching tomorrow. I am not ready. And so I'm going to spend the rest of today and tonight, other than my family dinner, prepping for tomorrow. I like last minute, so I'm crazy, but like that. But I have spent this entire week reading, and I have been lost in it to the point where I haven't been doing anything else. So as a caveat to that, remember that any creative habit that you create, whether it's reading, whether it's writing, whether it's listening to music, or it takes you away from reality.
Yeah.
And out of your head, out of the past, out of the present, it brings you into the right now. But it is easy to get lost in there. So just remembering that, you don't want to be caught up in that to the point where it's detrimental to your life. That then becomes an addiction.
Sometimes you do want to get lost in it. Depends on, it's very situational, right? So if you're, let's say, you're on vacation, for instance, or there's something stressful going on in your life. So you really want to, when you want to detach yourself from what's really going on, that time it's okay. But again, we call with the mindfulness concept is everyone's talking about it. So the mindfulness concept does come into picture as well. So it's, yes, you are kind of very very involved in whatever you are doing, but at the same time, on the back end, be mindful of what's going on around you also. I mean, you enjoy yourself for sure. If something was to happen, if there's an urgent deadline to be done, for example, and you're really enjoying yourself, it's all good. But if that deadline is important to you and it will impact something else, be mindful of that, right? So that becomes very, very like a very important piece.
Yeah.
And that's where going back to, so the question that I asked you, how do you make reading, like, how do you make it interesting for you?
So for me, I've read 42 titles this year alone.
Okay.
Last year I read 109, and I'm already first quarter and I've already read 50 books. So yeah, I'm an avid reader. And what I do to make it interesting is, when I was younger, my family, they would read romance novels and they would be all about this. And I know my mom did it, my aunt did it, my grandmother, all of them, right? And so I started to get into reading at a very young age. And it wasn't until I was probably around the age of 12, 14, when I really got into a book series. And what I noticed about that series is when I was reading the book, it was like I was watching a movie. Right? So when I read,
you're visualizing it, right?
I'm visualizing it, right? I can see it in my head. I'm basically living that story, right?
Correct.
And so that's why I said it's easy to get caught up in there because you're living somebody else's reality, right? Inside of a story, just like a movie would, right?
Right.
My family and I, we watch TV shows all winter. We have our regular TV shows. And, you get into them so much where you feel the sadness from the movie, feel the loss as if you're there. When you're in music, so for any creative project that you're doing or anything that makes you happy, finding that happy center is, immersing yourself completely into it.
Correct.
Right? My husband likes to play Magic the Gathering. It's a card game, right?
Yeah.
I mentioned on an episode on Tuesday or Wednesday, he went Monday for the first time in years. He went and did an event. When he came home from that event, the relaxation, the happiness, the emotions radiating off of him, I hadn't seen in a very long time.
Okay.
Right. And it was because he brought himself into that creative center, into that level of happiness where now it was like it was infectious, right? And there was no stress, there was no struggle, no overwhelm.
Right.
That's a huge key to anybody's happiness is being able to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely there. So when I talk of creativity and improving your life, I am talking about creativity in 3 different avenues. So the number one is in the kitchen. Okay. Food is something that so many people, they have a challenge with, getting meals on the table. And it is not that hard if you put your mind into it. And if you want to learn new things, it's not that hard to do. It does require planning. For that matter, anything in life requires planning, right? So that's, and we can get into more details for each. So number one is in the kitchen, then creativity in life as well, in general, right? We cannot afford to just keep complaining of, oh, I don't earn enough money, or my life sucks, or I don't like X person, I don't like my job. Like you cannot keep complaining. You have to take the initiative, and you have got to take the interest to create options and opportunities for you. That's where the creativity piece comes in, and keeping your eyes and ears open. Opportunities are there everywhere. It is only a matter of grabbing it and going back to and grabbing those opportunities which make you happy, which make you feel happy, right? And the third one is in your attitude. You cannot, it doesn't serve anyone well if you are stuck in time. If you are so stubborn, if you are so, and that's where the creativity piece comes into picture as well, where you are learning from maybe your neighbor, maybe your children, maybe your spouse, or maybe your coworker. There's so many options available. So when you think about creativity in all these forms, and you want to detach yourself from the definition of creativity, where, oh, a person who's creative is the person only who can draw a beautiful oil painting or a masterpiece in watercolor or mixed media, whatever the case may be. Yes, that is one app, because for generations, for the longest time, we have heard the word creativity attached to those people who are actually artists. Somebody who decorates their home well. For example, when I'm looking at your background, I see nice green over there. It's done artistically. It's looking nice. It's pleasing to the eyes. If you look at my background, it's very simple, right? It's very simple, but it's not just a clean white whatever, right? The background that you see over here, so you see these things? So this is all painted. It's a stencil that I used. This was a divider that I got from IKEA, and it was just white, very boring. And then I decided to just take a stencil and get chalk paint from Michael's, and it took me like just 2 hours. That's it. So it changed. So it's just a matter of extending your own capabilities if you are willing to make that change.
Yep. And I love that you pointed that out. Where you live, your environment, right? The people you surround yourself with. Creativity comes from that as well, right? Like
100%. Yeah.
Know that I have 3 totes underneath my desk right here. And that's all for my creativity, right? I have everything that I create is in there. But this room has to be pleasing to me. So right now it's a mess. I'm not going to show you all of it, but right now it's a mess. What you can see isn't, because I make sure. But a good portion of my desk is a mess. And you know what? I find that when my workspace isn't pleasing to me or clean to me or to my standards, it does impact my mood, and it impacts my level of wanting to create or wanting to engage in what I need to engage in, right? I purchased a laptop just so that I could move around my home and change up my environment as I needed to, right? In here, you can see I have my door closed because I have many cats and it will destroy this space if I let because of the plants and everything else.
Yeah.
But every so often, I want to work at my kitchen table, or I want to work in my living room, or I want to work where I can see everybody moving around me and living, right? And so understanding that creativity does, like you said, has relation to your environment and where you are. If you're not happy in your relationships, if you're not happy in your career or your business, if you're not happy in the space that you're in, right? It does impact whether or not you're creative. Your happiness is tied to your creativity.
100%. Yeah, for sure. And that is where the willingness and your attitude comes into picture. So there are the 8 pillars of wellness that actually integrate really well with the 3 categories I mentioned. It's physical, mental, social, emotional, psychological, spiritual, financial, and environmental. So these are the 8 pillars of wellness. So we don't have time to go on under each one, but anyone can, you can Google wellness, the 8 dimensions of wellness. So when you are looking into each of those categories, it will give you a better understanding that each of those categories has a creativity element to it. For example, mental health, right? Mental health, there's so many different ways of, there's a lot of discussion about mental health all over the world these days, especially after COVID-19, because people have been impacted. Some people have been impacted more than the others. Some people have lost family members, friends. It has been very hard all over the world. Right? However, you need to have a little bit of a creative mindset that goes into your mindset as to how can you come out of that, right? The person who has gone, but you are living.
Yep.
So you have to really come out of that and really make that effort to, or for example, if you are in a toxic job environment, it's not working for you. And I understand it's easier said than done. I went through that cycle myself, where I was working in a job for 7 years, and it was time for me to leave. It was getting too toxic. It was a very emotional decision. It was very hard on me to submit my resignation letter. But when I did it, and I was fortunate that I have my husband to support the family. That was the advantage. But there are some people who cannot take that luxury. So I take it as a luxury for myself. However, if you have a creative mindset and you can think of ways of how can I get in the dollars. If I quit this job, there's so many ways. There is so many ways. There's so many things that you can do. I know this is not a business discussion, but creativity does come in there as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So start thinking and learn more about the wellness pillars. And not most people. So people I see in my dietetic practice, some of them will, they'll come and say, if I talk to them about some kind of a creative project, they'll say, oh, I'm not creative at all. That is the immediate thing. That is simply because creativity has been attached to, arts and crafts and painting and all those things. So somebody who's a really good cook, a simple grilled cheese sandwich can be served in so many different ways. Now, everyone knows how to make grilled cheese sandwich, but you can do it in so many different ways, right? So it's thinking and the willingness really that is most important.
So you mentioned mental health, and there's something I wanted to touch on with that. I'm a mental health and emotional health expert. And one thing that people don't realize is that your mental health is directly related to your emotional health.
Yeah.
And that's why I whenever I sponsor an episode, that is why I almost always use the ROCKSTAR method. Because when you learn to control your emotions, right? And you have that ability to go, okay, the situations that we find ourselves in, the unhappy workplace, the unhappy relationships, whatever we're unhappy in, we get overwhelmed by that unhappiness, right? That emotion.
It consumes us.
Yep. And then that is actually what triggers our mental health issues.
Right.
Emotional instability. So when you learn how to control your emotional health and well-being, that's when you can move into the mental health and well-being and say, what do I want? What do I need? How can I make this work? And when you're in an emotional state, you don't see your creativity. You don't see any way out of that emotional. So when you learn how to control it and bring it back to center, that's when you can see all of the possibilities outside of that.
Yeah. So there's a lot of research that is there where they have found creativity linked with problem solving. So problem solving is a technique, right? So somebody who is having lots of emotional, ups and downs, is in a very difficult situation. Assume that. So what happens is that those people, they get sucked in a vicious cycle. It keeps going on, and until and unless you break that cycle using problem solving, it's only then that you can move forward. It's always one trigger leads to the other, and so it just keeps going on and on. So you have to break that, and learning the problem. Again, you can get lots of information on problem solving everywhere, where you think of the options that you have available and which one will work the best for you. It's like brainstorming that, okay, these are 5 things that I can do to change my mindset or change my environment or whatever the case may be. And then you want to find out of those 5, how many, the top 2 or the top 3 which will work for me. And then you give those a genuine and authentic trial, not surface level. Do it. Things don't change in one day or an hour. You've got to do things over and over again to see the results, right? So give it a genuine try and then see, and that is how you break a cycle. That is how you break that vicious cycle and really, come out of that. And you take a conscious decision. And that is also being creative in really solving the problems. There are sometimes, some people will say to a friend, oh, you're a problem solver. There are some, you always have a solution to a problem.
Usually that problem solver has good control of their emotions.
Exactly. Yeah. Emotions come in the way for sure, everywhere. So you have to have now controlling emotions does not always mean to just hide them inside. No.
That's totally different.
That's different. But you need to have a balance. Or like over there as to how to really manage them.
Yeah. Well, And that's the thing. In my ROCKSTAR method, it's not ignoring emotions. That's toxic positivity, right?
Acceptance
Yep.
is very important. Once you
Acknowledging,
yeah.
right? You don't even need to accept them, just acknowledge them.
Yeah.
Hey, this is how I'm feeling right now.
Yeah.
How is that feeling going to help me or harm me, or what does it mean, right? And I teach that all in that. So it's
The other big thing after acceptance is there's lots of people that I find, and again, this is, I know I go back to the patients that I see, but I see it more than often is that many patients they'll accept it, but they're seeking validation. So you don't have to seek validation for your emotions. If I'm feeling crappy on a day, I am feeling crappy. I don't need validation from A person or B person that I'm feeling crappy.
You just need it from yourself.
You need it from yourself. So again, so keep those things in mind, and because the more the more emotions you keep built in, it after some time, the cup will explode, it'll overfill. So definitely, so all those things the creativity piece comes into really how you live your life. Mm-hmm. in all aspects. Yeah, definitely. So that's a lot that I talk with my patients. It has served me well. There have been difficult times in my life as well. So yeah, that is what the main. There is no rocket science to it. Yep. It's just having a mindful approach and thinking about health beyond nutrition, because their health is more than just nutrition and being physically active. There is so many things attached to it.
Yep. Yeah. All right, so our time is just about up here. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we get going?
No, just for on my end, it is, I would say, everyone who's listening, whether you're listening live or a recording, whatever the case may be, yeah, just start thinking of changing your mindset. And if you need to seek help from someone, whether it's a friend, whether it is a healthcare professional, do not hesitate to do that.
Mm-hmm. There's no shame in needing or asking for help. Not at all.
For help. Yes.
All right.
Yeah. One quick thing that I will also say before we sign off is that also keep in mind that if you are miserable, people around you will also be miserable too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that also has a bigger impact. So break that cycle and get creative and think a little bit more outside the box. Seek help when needed, and then you will definitely see things getting better for you.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Well, for anybody watching or catching the replay, make sure that you go and check out Alka. Her information is in the description of this video, so go click her links. Get in touch with her if you need to. Follow and see what she's got going on for you on her website, again, which is linked in the description.
The website is the best place to get a hold of me.
Yeah. All right. Well, I really appreciated your time, Alka. Thank you so much for joining me.
No problem at all.
Sorry, I am cleaning my ring as as I do this. I noticed it was dirty, so it was bugging me, really bugging me. Yeah, so our sponsor today for anybody watching is, of course, the Phoenix Identity. Go and check out the ROCKSTAR Method. We're going to be hosting in the next few weeks, we're going to be hosting a seminar on that where you can learn how to utilize the ROCKSTAR Method and start taking control of your emotions so that it's healthier and a lot better for your mental health.
Nice.
For anybody watching, if you'd like to be a guest speaker, guest blogger, sponsor, or if you'd like to see a topic featured, please reach out to us at justalivetv.com. Make sure you like, follow, and share the show. Get involved. This is all about making conversations, joining conversations, and really just giving you something to talk about. So get involved in that conversation and let us know how it goes. Again, I'm your host, Melissa Krechler. I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon, morning, or evening, depending on when or where you're watching. I'll see you all on the next episode. Thank you again, Alka.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
All right. See y'all in the next episode.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.